Hello, friends. James Corbett here, CorbettReport.com. I was just on my regular weekly appearance on Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock and thought I would share an extract from that conversation with you. Of course, the full conversation is up and is definitely worth looking into as we talk about the ongoing slow-motion economic collapse and the way that that will play out in the future, so definitely worth watching in its entirety. But I just wanted to share this clip with you where we talk specifically about my work on economics versus catallactics, which I think is an important concept that we should return to after having elaborated about the use of language as a weapon. Here is a prime example of how certain economic language has been weaponized specifically to get people into the wrong frame of mind, so they will be thinking the wrong things and asking the wrong people for the wrong answers to their problems that have been caused by those very people. What am I talking about? Well, let's listen to this extract, and I will, of course, refer you back to the episode of the podcast that is referred to in this conversation. All the links will be in the show notes as usual, including the link to the full conversation here with Ernest Hancock, so you can view it in its entirety. But that's going to do it for today. Please enjoy the conversation.
Now, these are the two things. James Corbett, thecorbettreport.com. He and the Corbetteers doing a bunch of good work over there. They let him keep doing it. Now, the thing is there are two main ones that kind of dovetail into what I want to talk about. We can whip it out real quick without commercial interruption. Your most recent is Worship the Stock Market, Wage Slave Propaganda Watch. Okay, you can tell us what that's about. Then we have Deep Fakes, the CIA's mission accomplished. Now, for me, what I want to talk, I watched both of these, and they're kind of the same thing. Can you talk about each of them and how they kind of, because I can see it in you, man. You're kind of getting the EBGBs too. You know, there's something going on coming, and you got your new secret great video release coming, which, we're not getting any teasers for, but I bet you it has something to do with this, because it is just all BS, and they've been BSing for a long time. So go ahead and tell us how these two kind of intersect.
Well, that's an interesting point that you bring up that I hadn't consciously intended, but it is certainly there, because both of these pieces are about manipulated and fake reality being presented as real reality, and how do we deal and interact with that. So let's start with the most recent one first, the Stock Market Propaganda Watch. So this is essentially prompted by the type of economic reporting that we have all seen ad nauseum. If you open any mainstream economic section of any website or newspaper, you are going to see reports on the stock market is rallying and this means that about the economy, or the stock market is plunging and that means this about the direction the politics is heading, or consumers are feeling good and we can see this reflected in the stock markets doing this. And over again, we are told that essentially the stock markets are almost this scrying glass of diviner's tool that we can use to see the fundamental underlying reality of nature itself and predict the future, and we can tell of people's emotions and blah blah blah, which I understand the reason why that's appealing, because in the whole point of having a market in a free and open and fair economy would be to put prices to people's intuitions and inclinations and feelings and whether they're, what animal spirit they're feeling and all that nonsense that we hear tied up with economics. There is a point underneath that. You're pricing in, I feel this much fear, therefore I'm going to invest in gold. I feel this much enthusiasm about Apple and its products, so I'm going to invest in Apple stock, whatever. But of course, that relies on the idea that it is a free and open and fair market, which we all know that it is not. It is admittedly not a free, open, and fair market. And we see that all the time. And I point in that propaganda watch to an article, a mainstream article about a study that was done. I forget which university or which professor was doing it, but there was a study done a couple of years ago that showed 93% of the stock market bull run from 2008 to 2016. So we're talking post-Lehman, this incredible record-breaking stock run we've been on in the wake of one of the largest financial cataclysms of modern times. What prompted that? 93% of that stock market bull run could be directly pinned on Federal Reserve market intervention. Surprise, surprise. I mean, we all know this, of course. That's
well, hell, Trump is saying it all the time now. We need more market intervention to give me my stock market.
Let it rain. Bring on the helicopter money. We all knew this, but it's good to have that documented in a study, quantified. 93% of this ridiculous record stock market bull run was total paper baloney money printed up out of nothing by the Fed and dropped on the banks, not on the markets, but on the banks. And that really is where all of this incredible mania came from. And the incredible thing is they'll admit this, they'll report on this. Even as I point to, Yahoo Finance was reporting on it at the time. Here you go. And then they'll continue to talk about the stock market as if, oh, look, it's doing this today. Oh, it's doing that today. So now we should believe this about the universe. It is telling us nothing. It is a manipulated and phony reality brought about by the central banks and the central bankers, which relates to the other video that you're talking about.
Yes, I'm the banking, the economy. I don't even like using that word. Certainly since I read your article and or maybe it was on a video where you talked about catallactics.
Yep.
Economy, you said that that's a Greek word meaning home budget.
Household management, right.
And I'm just going, whose household? What about mine,
Yep.
And I don't want to be part of their household. And this is what they keep manipulating us. It's like having your spouse come up to you and say, I paid the credit card bill with funny money and it's going to come back later kind of thing. So catallactics where, am I saying that word right? Catallactics?
Catallactics, Catallaxy, yeah.
Is where, what's this worth? It's what I'm worth. Somebody will pay for it. That's what it's worth, and it's me. I get to decide. And I'll use all kinds of different ways of saving money or not, depending on, how much it's worth, the time savings for me to go to use crypto on Purse or something like that. .io, get a discount on Amazon. But a lot of times to save the few bucks, I'd rather just get it. The thing that they're doing with us, they want us to feel a connection with whatever it is that they're saying, and then the reaction is on Wall Street, even though we know it's it's BS, and they're just saying it to make it happen. So when we lose confidence in the fact that they say it, but it doesn't happen, well, then what good are they?
Exactly.
So it's really, and I know so many people that lost their butt before the housing thing went because you got to watch this Kramer guy. Literally, I had a good friend. We kind of had on the outs. I'm going, look, man, you're believing him. Monkeys do better than him throwing darts, man, blindfolded. So it's just that they believe they can move the market.
Yeah.
So the market believes and gets them to keep doing it.
They're kind of, in a sense, they are right. It is a confidence game. And as long as enough people fall for that con game, then, the game does sort of play. And it does play in the way that they are trying to push it. So they can push
until
the
it doesn't.
Economy this way or that by convincing enough people. But you're exactly right to hone in on the fundamental root problem here is that we are given the false terms that define the problem in the wrong way so that we're given false paradigms to march on. And in this case, economy, economics, household management. Of course, the metaphor is we're all just living in one big household. And I guess, we have daddy government and mommy government, and they're the ones who manage this household for us. And they're going to manage it so that all the children can benefit and live happily. And that's the idea that we're supposed to go with. Of course, it's never explicitly stated that way, but that's the underlying metaphor. So you were right to bring in the real word, catallactics, Catallaxy, which is anathema to the economists.
I try and use that as much as possible now. I hate saying economy. It just feels wrong. It's like it's somebody else's thing.
It should. It is absolutely a false word that has been implanted in our consciousness. People who are interested in delving into the details of this, go to corbettreport.com/economists. corbettreport.com/economists. And that's an episode of my podcast I did, I think last year. It was very short and sweet about why economists are always wrong. And I do get into that. The word catallactics, which derives from the Greek verb, blah, blah, blah. I don't know how to speak Greek, which means not only to exchange, but also to reconcile in the sense of admission to a community or changing from enemy to friend. The word in itself speaks of the profound connection that is possible from the act of mutually beneficial exchange, and changes the inflection entirely from the coercive management of human cattle for the benefit of a unitary plan, economics, to the creation of a community based on exchange and friendship, catallactics. Again, a change in nomenclature can be the change in mindset that is needed to see what really exists and the way the world really could operate if we stop falling for the con game.
I'm glad that you brought this up, because there's something that I'm really